We're on. Hey everybody, welcome to number 1 edition of Paddles on the Patio. Now I know what you're thinking. Hey Jack, you're not on the patio. Well, we had a little unexpected visit this morning from Mr. Weed Man, and he sprayed the backyard and it's pretty stanky out there. So for the protection of myself, I have decided to bring it indoors, and we'll do the paddle review from the comfort of my living room. So thanks for joining me. I hope you guys enjoy this this review. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, hey Jack, that's a guitar. A guitar. What gives? Well, I thought that every show needs a proper musical intro. So I thought we'd have a little fun to start out with, and let's play a little Name That Tune. So here we go. This one is going to be very easy. We're coming to you from Atlanta, so I thought I'd stick with a local band from Georgia, and I'll tell you the name of the group and the song at the end of the video, but you guys should be able to get it right away. Very easy. Here we go. I got a little change in my pocket going jing-a-ling-a-ling. Wanna call you on the telephone, baby, give you a ring. But each time I call, I get the same old thing. Always no huggy, no kissing till I get a wedding ring. My honey, my baby, don't put my love upon the shelf. She said don't hand me no lines and keep your hands to yourself. There we go. Now that that's out of the way, a little fun to start out with. Okay, so what are we doing? We're taking a look at this, the Head Extreme Pro. Now I'm very excited that Head decided to join the market. They've been making tennis rackets for many years, very high quality tennis rackets. I used to play with the Radical, Agassi's old racket. Many top pros use Head rackets, and I'm hoping that now that they're entering the paddle, now that they're making paddles, they'll bring that same craftsmanship and quality to their paddles, and it seems like they're doing that. Now, Head has come out with 2 different basic lines. One is the Extreme line, which the Extremes all have this kind of different shape to them, where you see the sides are kind of cut away, and the bottom too. It's a diamond. They're calling it a diamond shape. And the other line that they have that I have not tried yet is the Radical line. Now that line of paddles has a more conventional shape. It doesn't have these corners cut out, and it also has a little thicker beam. So this part of the paddle will be a little thicker in the Radical, and that'll give you a little more free power. The thinner the paddle is, the more you feel the ball, hitting the paddle. So the thicker paddles, you don't feel it as much, so they don't have as good touch. So this Head Extreme is, I would say it's a little thinner than most, but it's not so thin to where some paddles that are very thin, when you hit the ball hard, you could kind of feel it kind of flexing a little bit. But this one feels very solid when you hit it. So I like the thickness of it, and I also do like, let's talk about the way it looks, the cosmetic. You got that nice red head emblem there. For those of you who don't know, that's the head emblem. The surface of the Extreme Pro is what do you call it? It's not graphite, it's composite. Composite, couldn't think of the word. Which we'll talk about that later, but the length of it is a little bit different. It's an extra ½ inch longer than most paddles. Most paddles are 15½ inches long. Like my Selkirk, this is one of my regular paddles, the Selkirk Pro 1C. If you put them side by side, you could see that the Extreme Pro is about a ½ inch longer. And it's also a little bit more narrow. I don't know if you can see that, but it's slightly more narrow than most paddles, but it's not quite as narrow as some other paddles out there. I don't think the width will give you an issue. And also, I was a little worried about the shape, that maybe you'd hit some balls up around here, but it doesn't seem to be an issue at all. So if you're worried about the shape of this, don't be. It doesn't really bother you, and you get used to it, and it actually makes you focus a little more. I don't know why, but it just does. Like the paddle feels like it's smaller, but it's not really smaller. I mean, the differences are so minor, but it makes you focus more on hitting the middle of the paddle, which is always a good thing. So the other thing about the the visual aspect of the paddle and the construction is head, I think, is one of the only, there may be a few, but most paddles, the handle, if you've ever taken off the grip, you'll notice how it's kind of cheap under there. You know, it's, I don't know what it's made out of, but it's almost, it feels like you could almost crush it if you squeeze it too hard. But the head paddles, I think they've taken the technology off of their tennis rackets, and they have a similar handle, which is all molded one piece. So what you get is a really firm feeling handle, and it's connected to the paddle in a way that gives you a little more feel. It just feels like one solid piece. So the handle is probably one of my favorite parts of the head paddle, and all the head paddles will have those handles. So that's a really nice thing. They even throw in a little, if you tennis players will know this when you see it, it's just a little rubber thingy at the top, which it keeps the top of the grip from slipping and unraveling. So it's kind of nice little touch that they threw that in there. Little rubber thingy, but it doesn't do anything. It just looks cool, and it keeps the grip in place. So, and the grip is the head Hydrosorb grip, Hydrosorb Pro, I believe. Yes, Hydrosorb Pro. So any of you head tennis racket owners will feel very comfortable with this grip right off the bat. It's super comfortable grip, very cushiony. And the grip size is about a medium size. I believe it's 4¼ inches. So that's right middle of the road, about same as the 90% of the paddles out there. Won't feel too thick or too thin for you. You know, if it does, there's ways to make your grip a little thicker or thinner. If anyone is interested in knowing more about that, just leave me a comment and I will explain to you how you could do that. So I got to play with this last night, played about 2.5 hours of men's doubles, and got some really good playing with it. So I feel like I have a very good, some very good opinions on this paddle. Of course, it takes a while to get used to any paddle. I would say myself, it takes me about 2 weeks till I feel like I'm just one with the paddle. I'm not thinking about the paddle, I'm not looking at the paddle, I'm not worrying about how heavy it is, how light it is, how it works. I'm just playing. That takes about 2 weeks for me. Some people it might take a little longer, might be a little quicker, but for me it takes about 2 weeks. But that being said, I was able to get used to this paddle fairly quickly. After a few games, I was playing with it just as well or as badly. as I normally do. And some of my friends that I play with, I asked them if I played any differently. They said, no, same old Jack. So for better or for worse, I think it's a good thing. I played pretty much my own game right off the bat. So I got used to it very quickly. So what do I think about this paddle? The first thing that stood out to me was the sound that it makes. And I don't know if you're like me, but I like a certain sound when the ball hits the paddle. If it sounds weird or off, I'm just going to put that paddle away and not even play with it ever again. I just have to like the sound. Sounds alters your perception of how solid the paddle feels. So if it sounds tinny, you might think that the paddle is not solid, even though it may be. So Mizuno, who makes golf clubs, they've done a lot of research with sound on contact when the golf ball hits the club, and there's a lot that goes into that, where a pleasing sound somehow translates into a more solid feel, and I think that's true with pickleball paddles as well. So that being said, the sound when you hit the Extreme Pro is a very low thump. It's like a clock sound, and I'll give you a little demonstration of how it sounds here. So I think you can hear that. It's kind of a low. It's a low sound. It's a nice sound. I like the sound. It's kind of similar to the way most composites sound. This is my Selkirk Composite Pro 1C, and it's got a similar sound. It's a little higher pitch, as you can hear. You hear that, then you hear this. This is a little lower, but it's got a nice sound. I know I'm probably making a big deal about sound, but I'm weird. What can I say? I like to have a nice sound in my paddle. So the sound was good. So we can move on from there. So in playing with the Extreme Pro, after the sound, the first thing I noticed was how fastly the ball shoots off the paddle. When you take a nice swing, it takes off. So you have to adjust for that, or the balls are just going to fly all over the place on you. And if you like a paddle that's very soft and one that you could swing hard and the ball will stay in, this is not the one. You might want to look at the Graphite model of the Extreme. Graphite paddles tend to be more soft feeling, and you could swing harder and the ball will stay in. Composite paddles tend to have a lot of pop, and the face is very hot. The ball just shoots right off the face. So this one very much so, more so than my Pro 1C from Selkirk. But was this a problem? And no, it was not a problem. I really liked it because you could take a nice compact swing and the ball will go deep. So when you're returning serves or when you're serving, you could focus on a short, quick swing, which is pretty much what you want in pickleball. You don't want a long swing where you're winding up. You just want a little compact swing, and this gives you a lot of pop with a compact swing. Now, sometimes people don't like powerful paddles because they feel like they're hard to play in the kitchen with. They feel like they're hard to dink with. But this one, as long as you get a consistent response off the paddle to where you know, I hit it this hard, it's going to go this far. I hit it this hard, it's going to go this far. You can work with any paddle. So I found it very consistent in dinking to where I could feel and measure my dinks. I wasn't popping them up too much, and the ball wasn't flying on me. Whenever it flew on me, I knew I gave a little too much swing, or I didn't hit it right. So it is powerful. If you don't like powerful paddles, definitely stay away. Like I said, go check out the Graphite. But if you like a lot of pop in your paddles, like say the Bantam XL, is it XL? Anyway, the Paddle Tech Bantam, that's a very powerful paddle. the Onyx, the Z5, that's a super powerful paddle. We're not talking about that much power. But it's similar to the Bantam, maybe a little more. So you get a lot of quick ball speed off the paddle with this paddle, and I really like that. It seems to, you work less, you could play smarter and more efficient, not take big crazy swings, and the shape seems to really help on overheads. It cuts through the air. I don't know if it's the shape that's doing that or if it's, you know, the technique, but my overheads were really good. It cuts through the air quickly, allows you to hit quick overheads and putaways. When the ball is up high, you could pop it with just a little, you don't need a big swing. You could put it away easily because the paddle has so much power. So as you can tell, I really, really like the Extreme Pro. I'm gonna keep playing with it for a while and see how it does. Sometimes there's what's known as a honeymoon phase when you try paddles out because you're excited, you got a new paddle. You know, mentally you're maybe a little more hopped up and you're a little more into it. Sometimes that makes you play a little better. So you have to try paddle out over the course of several different sessions. Maybe play with some different players that'll throw some different things at you. And then you could really make a decision if you like it or not, or if it's something you want to keep in your bag. You know, I caution people not to be too quick about deciding, you know, hey, I don't like this. You know, maybe if you're like me, you don't like the sound, you might put it down right away. That's another story. But if the weight is good, if it feels good swinging it, if it's not too heavy, not too light, you know, try it out for a little while and see if you grow into it. If you don't hate it off the bat, you know, keep trying it out for a little while. Give it a good evaluation period. Speaking of weight, this Extreme Pro came in at 7 3/4 right on the nose. So that's what the specs say, and it came in right on the button. And I believe Head is saying that all their paddles are going to be really close to what the specs say. So if you're like me and you don't like some of these paddles that have a range of, you know, 7.5 to 8.5, I think that's a little crazy because you get one at the low end of the spectrum, you get one at the high end of the spectrum. They're two different paddles. So with these, you can rest assured if you buy more than one, if you like to have a backup of the same paddle, you feel good about you'll have two that match, you know. And the other really nice thing about what Head is doing with their line is similar to what Selkirk is doing. Here's my Selkirk Pro 1. Selkirk also has a matching Graphite paddle that is the same exact spec, same size, same shape, almost the same weight, but they have one in Graphite, one in Composite. So if you like switching, depending on what ball you're playing with, or if you're playing indoors or outdoors, some days you'd be playing in a tournament somewhere and you're having trouble, you know, putting the ball through the court. But, you know, sometimes a little extra power will help you out. So people, you know, I like having the options of having the same exact paddle in Graphite or Composite, and with Head, they're doing that. You can get almost the same exact paddle in a Composite and a Graphite. And I love that they do that. And so that being said, I'm going to wrap up this edition of Paddles on the Patio. Next time we hope to be out on the patio and enjoying some nice Atlanta weather. Hopefully you guys got to play some pickleball today. It was a beautiful day out there. And let me know if you have any questions about this paddle or what paddle you'd like to see me review next. Leave your comments. I hope to do some more of these. As you can tell, I like talking about paddles. I like trying out paddles. Just the way I am. I like to try out things. I'm a tryer-outer, and I enjoy it. I see a question here from Kelly. How does it compare to the Bantam? I think I talked about that a little bit, and it's very similar to the Bantam in power and the way the ball comes off the paddle. The Bantam has got a little more control. The Head's got a little more pop. The ball can fly on you a little bit with the head if you're not careful. So It's a little more powerful than the Bantam, but it is similar. I think if you like the Bantam, you should check out the Head Extreme Pro for sure. Anybody else has some questions, put them in the comments. I'll answer them when I get a chance. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to doing some more. And oh yeah, the song was Georgia Satellites, Keep Your Hands to Yourself. That was a pretty easy one. Maybe we'll do one next time, and we'll make it a little harder, and we'll play a little Name That Tune again. Give me a chance to show you I could do something besides play pickleball. Anyway, looking forward to the next one, and I'll see you guys on the courts. Take care.